Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken Hunter, and welcome. If you could see what goes on behind the scenes here at the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, I would hope it would at least make you smile. My name is Mike Avery, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and I am so glad to have you along with us once again. If you are a new listener to the show, I really appreciate that. If you have an interest in the outdoors, I think you will find this show interesting, hopefully informative, and maybe somewhat entertaining. If you have no interest in the outdoor lifestyle, and I do hear from people who listen to the show, they say, Mike, I'm not a hunter, I'm not an angler, I don't trap, I'm not a fisherman, but I listen to your show because I think you have interesting guests and I learn a lot. And to be honest with you, those are the most rewarding comments I get from listeners, people who are not in the lifestyle but who still listen to the show. So for that, I thank you so very much. Welcome, by the way, to the month of March. We're almost there. We're moving the right direction. But I will tell you, I'm not real happy with Mother Nature lately. Not real happy with meteorologist Mark Torregrossa either. I blame some of this on him, just because he's an easy target. I think at my house, I think we've had more snow in the last 2 weeks than we had in the last 2 winters combined. It's been crazy. Now, my friends listening in the UP, you're going to go, oh, this is no big deal. We had 8 inches of snow in 4 hours a few days ago. And for down here where I live, that's a lot of snow. Now, if you went downstate much further, it was ice. And I would rather get snow than ice, for sure. But I felt like, and I don't have a snowblower because I don't have a lot of, I don't have a big driveway, and we usually don't get a lot of snow. So I shovel it by hand, and it's a good workout. It's good exercise. But there was one point there where I'm looking at the snow thinking, if this was a football game, the snow just scored 3 touchdowns in a row, and I just got sacked in the end zone. It was like, I'm not going to win this battle. But warm weather's coming, and eventually I will win that battle, won't I? Even to the point where we had a power outage, which is kind of unheard of at my house. But once again, it did serve to remind me of something. The snow, the power outage. It was like, you know what? It reminded me that we are so, I am so coddled and so, in some ways, even me, who make my living doing this, what I do, some ways so out of touch with the real world and the natural world and Mother Nature. And again, we have no control over that, which is so cool. It might be frustrating. If you want to go fishing on a certain body of water and it blows 35 miles an hour that day and you can't fish, yeah, you're frustrated by it, right? Or you've spent weeks after this certain buck. You wait till what you think is the perfect weather conditions. You go out there and the buck starts to walk down the runway, and at the last minute a doe comes along and he veers off. Mother Nature and critters tend to put it, and fish, especially those walleye that I love so much, they tend to make us humble. Because I don't care how much of an expert you are, how knowledgeable you are, how many years you've spent hunting or fishing, Mother Nature and her critters can put us in our place. And I like that. I don't necessarily like it at the moment it's happening, but overall, I think it's a great reminder that we're just we're just small cogs in this big thing. I think it refreshes my perspective, put it that way. I don't know what it does to you, but it refreshes my perspective, and it helps me to put things back in their place. By now, well, depending on whether you're listening to the show Saturday or Sunday, we will have had our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and auction, and I'm sure it was a huge success. The next event coming up that you can be a part of is Wednesday, March 22nd. We're going back to the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, to do a Wednesday night live. We haven't done one there since before COVID, so it's time we got back there. A lot of great things planned for that event, including a really, really nice meal. One of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world, Paul Phillips, just told me he will join us for that event. So it's always nice to see Paul. You can pick his brain, talk with him in person about how they just made a 4-mile shot, a documented 4-mile shot. He will be along with us. I have invited some other friends who have not confirmed yet, so I don't want to tell you who they might be. But if you want to join us, you can call the Lumberjack at 989-343-0892. And I hate giving out phone numbers on the air because you're not in a position usually where you can write them down. 989-343-0892, or send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and I will email you that phone number so you can call. That's Wednesday night, March 22nd, at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Oh, what else? I got a list of things here I want to talk about. I'm on social media a lot. I use it as a way to reach people and put out information and interesting stories. I don't always like the way the conversations go, but you will find, I'll tell you this on my Facebook page, you will find the conversation is always civil. I make sure that's the case. There's no bashing of fellow hunters. There's no bashing of fellow anglers. If I see it, I delete it, and I ban those people. So you can come to my Facebook page and know it won't devolve into a name-calling event. But I had a very, very interesting situation, and this is one reason I like social media. You can share interesting situations. A guy sent me some pictures and a story about a Michigan deer hunter in the Houghton Lake area. This happened last fall. He shot a buck. They didn't get it that night. They went out the next morning to recover it. They found the buck buried next to a badger's den. The badger made a den next to the buck. Now, I didn't know this happened. And if somebody told me this and I didn't have the pictures, I wouldn't believe it. The badger found the deer, buried it, and dug a hole, the beginning of a den next to it. He was going to come back and he was going to eat on that thing for days, weeks? I've never seen a badger in the wild here in Michigan. My only experience with badgers has been out west. But it got me thinking about different experiences I've had with critters over the years. I think most of them, the most interesting, would probably be bears. You know, I love bears. I find them very interesting, very curious. And I think one of the reasons I like bears so much is I don't see them routinely in my neck of the woods. So every experience I have with a bear it gets my heart going. I don't care how many bears I'll see, it gets my heart going because you see them up close. The first interesting experience I think I ever had with a bear, we were bear hunting in Manitoba. My son James was working with me at the time. We were up there doing the TV show. We had 2 bears come in just before dark, a decent-sized shooter bear and a smaller bear. I shot the bigger bear. He ran off. We let him go off and die. I did my thing in front of the camera. We got back down to the ground level, and the other bear that was with the first bear started coming back into the bait. He knew we were there. He saw us. It was still daylight. I stood up. I waved my arms. I said, "Hey, bear." He didn't care. He actually, and I'll be honest with you, he actually put us back up the tree stand. Eventually, he went off. He wandered around. We got down to track the bear. We ran into that bear a second time. He had picked up the bloody arrow from the bear and carried it off with him. Second interesting thing, I was sitting in a ground blind, this time in Ontario, and I had a bear come in so close. And bears are curious. They'll come in and they'll look in the window at you on the blind. In the blind. They'll look at the window. They will come up and put their nose in the window of the blind. I've had them stand next to the blind, a fabric blind, so close they were brushing against the blind you could hear them breathing. But I think every time we go outdoors and we go hunting or fishing, we can have an interesting experience. Even if it's not something that stands out in your mind for years down the road, it's an experience you can add to your arsenal. It's an experience that adds to the list of interaction and knowledge you can gain by having these outdoor experiences, outdoor interactions. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break here, Bob Hinds of Central Coast Angling. He is on Grand Traverse Bay right now as we speak. He's out there burbot fishing with the Grillo family of Michigan brand meats. I want to talk to him about burbot fishing, springtime perch, and more. Then Dave Rose of Wild Fishing joins us for the second half of the hour. In hour number 2, going back to Paul Phillips, one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world, who will be joining us at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, Wednesday, March 22nd. Paul will talk about this 4-mile shot his team just made and much more. Then Clay Buchanan of the DNR checks in. This week's Ask Avery segment, can you use an air bow to hunt within Michigan? Can you use a pneumatic air rifle to hunt within Michigan? And speaking of pneumatic air rifles, in our third hour, Tom Simmon talks about air rifles, how they have evolved and how they become very, very effective tools. And of course, we'll wrap it up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That and more coming up on this week's show. A reminder, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to reach out to me with your questions, your comments, your criticism, your Ask Avery questions. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas on WIOS 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knives. You know I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket, as I always do. I'm a big fan of this company, the people behind it, the products they make, folding knives, pocket knives like I carry all the time, fillet knives, skinning knives, hatchets, axes, kitchen knives even. They're handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's UP in their factory on US 2 just east of a Rapid River. If you get a chance, swing by there, check out the showroom. You're going to be very impressed. If you can't make it up there, go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us. That's rapidriverknifeworks.us. You can buy right online. By the way, the knives have a lifetime guarantee. And if you're up there in the area, or if you just want them to sharpen your knife, you can stop by, they'll do it, or you can send it back up to them, and they'll sharpen it too. How cool is that? I was thinking about things going on this time of year, and I consider March to be one of those shoulder months, in quotes. It's not quite wintertime, and it's not quite springtime. So what is there going on this time of year? Well, Bob Hinds has it figured out. Bob is a charter captain, a fishing guide on Grand Traverse Bay. His company is Central Coast Angling, centralcoastangling.com, and he has a way to fill this shoulder month of March, and that's getting some real nice fish. Bob, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Mike.
So you're on the water right now, aren't you?
Actually, I am in my truck, and I'm going to go do a little bit of boat maintenance, and then I got to go clean some fish from yesterday, and then I'm going to go out on the water this afternoon.
Oh, okay. It's an afternoon trip. Okay, I got you. And you
actually have your really good friends today.
That's what I was going to say. Some mutual friends, the Grillo boys of Michigan brand meats.
The Grillo boys, they are back for, I think, round number 1 for 2023. So we're going into it, and I got them again tomorrow. So here we go.
They fish with you a lot.
They are. They're up to, I don't know, a lot. They fish with me a lot, but I really enjoy them. They've become family with me, and we're very close. And I think that, I mean, we're almost to the point that we know each other's family members' names.
Yeah, they're good people. Good people. Yeah, Now, usually they come up, or often they come up and fish for jumbo perch with you, right?
Yeah. They're Well, they're fishing everything with me now. I got them for everything. We're fishing everything, every single thing that I offer. They have been on the boat. They've been with me up in Lake Superior for trout. Everything. They are 9-month-a-year clients for me now.
So are you on the water 9 months a year then? Really? Wow.
Yep. 9 months is what I fish.
And what do you fish for mostly, Bob?
Perch, lake trout, cisco, salmon. I dabble in other species, walleye, burbot. If I have a request and I have a good bite going on, if I have a really good bite going on and it's something I want, clients like the Grillos or some of my other clients that fish with me a lot, I want them to experience that. Then I'll kind of throw in a horseshoe. But most of my stuff is salmon and perch and walleye.
Do you do any trolling, or is it almost all jigging?
No, I absolutely have a huge trolling program. I start trolling May 14th for salmon out of Whitehall, Pentwater, Muskegon, Ludington. Yep, salmon coho, steelhead.
Were you able, with the winter we had this year, were you able to stay on the water at least once a month right throughout the winter?
I've been in my boat for over 2 years now, straight every month. I was in the boat yesterday, and I looked at my guy and I said, I made February by 1 day. Yes, I think it was January 2nd to February 28th. That was the longest span of not being in my boat I've had in 2 years, but I still made it by a day yesterday.
Wow. Was it perch yesterday or burbot?
Burbot.
Tell me about that, because this is a fish I know nothing about, and I've never caught one, not even sure I've ever seen one.
Yeah, they're sought by many that know. I guess the first thing we can kind of talk about is the desire to eat them. Pretty commonly known as the poor man's lobster. There's a lot of really good ways to cook them, but if you just want to boil them like a seafood boil and dip them in butter, they do not taste bad like that. I know my wife is not much of a fish connoisseur, but when I say that I have burbot, she gets excited. They are very prehistoric looking. They look like an eel. They have a great big head, and they're cylinder shaped. Their ribs, most of their torso and head is cylinder shaped, and then they have a fin all the way around them, so they look like an eel, kind of snaky, similar to a snakehead or a bowfin. Okay, now I got a frame of reference here. So then, are they? Do you catch them off the bottom, or are they suspended feeders, or what? They are bottom feeders. In fact, yesterday we had a phenomenal day. We were just pounding on them, and honestly, I think we only marked probably about 50% of what we caught. And, you just sit there and you just pound your jig on bottom. Every time you just slap bottom with it. And it doesn't matter if there's a bunch of grass or seaweed on there, or they will bite it. It sounds like a fishery that kind of gets overlooked. It is. A lot of people, when they can get out on the ice, I think that's when a lot of, the population kind of takes a hit. Anytime I can get to them in a boat, if we have a unseasonably warm winter like we have this year, that's when I kind of get out to them. And, I kind of really call my clients like, hey, I got something going here. How do you feel about this instead of perch? Or how do you feel, because it just always happen, pretty much February and March. So it kind of coincides right with my perch fishing. There's a lot of times I'll hurry up, wrap up a perch trip, and then meet another client, and we're fishing, trying to get the boat in the water by 5 p.m. And then a lot of guys fish these fish after dark. Yesterday we caught them in high sun from 2 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon. So, what size are they, Bob? We had all sorts of various size, anything from 2-pound fish all the way up to a good one's probably about 6 to 7 pounds. Oh, see, I didn't know they got that big. Yeah, some of them get really the larger females. Do they fight at all, or is this kind of more of a meat fishery? It's a meat fishery. I would say a walleye probably fights a little bit better. They just don't really do much other than dead weight, and you pull them up like a wet sock, and every once in a while you might get a head shake, but it's pretty much just dragging up a wet sock. So how long will this burbot bite continue into the spring? You could go right until, April 1st, I feel like. I've caught them right around March 25th, March 26th. So. Well, they can be tough to locate. Well, but you're the guy who's going to find them. I mean, if you're out there all the time like you are, if anybody's going to find them, it's going to be you. definitely. I have some spots to go get them off Grand Traverse Bay there. So
I would think that burbot would be secondary, though. If you've got a new client and you give them a choice, okay, we're going to go catch some jumbo perch or something called a burbot. Most people are going to go with a perch.
Perch. Yeah, the perch are so sought after. You know, everybody wants the perch. I have 0 days available right now. I am fully booked every single day until like May 1st, I think is my first available day. And I'll only fish perch until like May 5th at best because I'm wanting to start doing other things. You know, it's time for trout and Cisco and prepping for salmon trolling. So yeah, the yellow perch are very sought after. So everybody just calls me, hey, I want to go perch fishing, kind of a deal. But if like today, the guys, the Grillos, they're going to come up and we're going to burbot fish today, and then we're going to perch fish tomorrow. So we'll see which they like better. This is their first, they've burbot fished with me a couple times, and they're coming back again today. So,
do you make the transition away from perch because the bite is dying down, or you're just ready to move on to something else by then?
I'm ready to move on to something else.
Sure.
So, and for me, it's tough because I end my season with perch. If I can sneak out in January, I'll go fish perch. If I can sneak out in February, I'll go fish perch. So anytime I get to do something different, it's exciting for me. But by March 1st, my goose is pretty darn cooked.
Well, I bet.
Or May 1st, excuse me.
Well, and if you're booked solid from now till May 1st, how do you handle a blow day? Or do you not get blow days on that body of water because you know where to go?
We absolutely get blow days. In fact, it looks like I might have a blow day this Friday, and my guy is coming up. I have him for 2 days, and I said, hey, we're going to have a blow day Friday. It's going to be a wash. So what I have going right now is I have another captain that is working for me. He picks up my Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. And if that client wants to go into that position with my other captain, I encourage it. He's a great captain. He does a great job. If he didn't do a great job, I wouldn't use him. So I encourage that. And if they just want to scratch it and send it, into next fall, then we're booked for next fall. I have clients calling in right now trying to book, and I'm saying, hey, I don't have anything. You can take my other captain, or you can basically wait for me, and that's going to be fall. So, yeah, it's been a little hectic with scheduling, but we're doing the best we can. There's only one of me, and I wish there were 5.
And what is it about Grand Traverse that produces such jumbo perch?
It's just like anywhere else. It's just we have a good population of perch. They're not easy to find. You have to fish every single day, basically, to stay on them and know where they're at. And then, it's seasonal where, they're going to be in 30 foot of water. They're going to be in 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. There's times that we catch perch out into 120 foot of water, in April, and you just kind of got to know where to look. And that bay is so big, they can be extremely hard to find. But if you kind of know perch fishing on Lake Michigan, if you look at Southern Lake right now, the guys in the Southern Lake are, down by Chicago. They're really doing good. And, it's a good fishery down there, too. So there are areas on Lake Michigan that are just phenomenal perch fisheries, and Grand Traverse Bay is no exception.
Well, all right, so now I'm getting a feel for it. It's not that the bay is such a tremendous resource. It is, but that's not the reason for your success. The reason for your success, in my mind, Bob, is because you're out there every day and you know how to find these fish and you stay on them, and that can't be overlooked.
Absolutely. It's not that the bay is a phenomenal fishery. The bay is a phenomenal fishery. It absolutely is a phenomenal fishery. But being out there every single day, I can sit there and go, oh, well, I've got 3 schools of perch that I can fish in this port. And then I can go to this launch on Grand Traverse Bay, and I've got, 4 schools there. And it's just kind of, knowing where those schools are, the depths that they are, the time of the year, and then, you just, before you know it, you have a program and you're fishing every day. Well, and you're catching perch every single day.
Well, Bob, listen, I appreciate your time. Say hi to the Grillo boys for me and we'll talk again.
I will. All
right, Bob Hinds of Central Coast Angling, his website, centralcoastangling.com, centralcoastangling.com. Sounds like you might have a hard time booking a trip with Bob, but go to the website, see what he's got available. Maybe you can fish with one of his other captains, either for perch or burbot. I can't wait to see the pictures. Nick always posts his pictures. I can't wait to see those. We'll take a break. When we come back, Dave Rose of Wild Fishing right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Things are getting busy at Linwood Beach right now. Well, they're always busy at Linwood Beach because they're in such a perfect spot right there on the shore, the western shore of Saginaw Bay. Didn't get much of an ice fishing season this year, but there was a tremendous late fall, early winter trolling fishery out there, and I suspect that's getting ready to get fired up again. Linwood Beach, great launch, full service boat mechanics, ship store. I can't say enough about it. LinwoodBeachMarina.com is the website, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. Speaking of fishing, I was at the Outdoorama show last weekend. I was walking around, and I heard a guy's voice, and I said, "That's a familiar voice." I didn't get a chance to run into him. I didn't find him, but it was the voice of Dave Rose, who is the voice of the Show Span shows. He is a very avid outdoor writer and an angler and a fishing guide as well, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Dave, welcome back. How are you?
You know, I am super fine. Life's good, and sorry I missed you. I kept looking for your head sticking out above the crowd, and I never did spy it.
for that bald head with the light shining on top of it, walking through the crowd.
There was a bunch of those, but
so listen, it looks like you had another good show, Dave.
Yeah, it was a good show. You know, that was the second one I've done with Showspan. First was the Ultimate Fishing Show there in Novi, and then of course Outdoorama last weekend. Lots of great people. The vendors are coming back. You know, I mean, last year was kind of a test. I mean, it was the first year back after, you know, the whole COVID scare and stuff like that. So, and a lot of places, you know, didn't have product, or they just couldn't make it, or, you know, so it was kind of a test. And, you know, now we've got the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids coming up.
Yeah, that's the big one. I mean, I've been going to that show since I was a kid with my dad. I look forward to that show. What are the dates on that one, Dave?
I do believe it's March 9th through the 12th. That's a Thursday through a Sunday.
March 9th through the 12th already? Coming up that soon?
I know. You and I are talking on a March day today.
Wow.
You know?
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I was thinking it was later in the month. That's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got to get a hold of Ben, get some promotion going here. Anyway, so what else is going on in your world, buddy?
You know, I hate to admit it. This is the first year I have not ice fished. And it feels very strange.
Well, was it a scheduling thing or a Mother Nature thing or what?
Mostly Mother Nature. Here in the Traverse City area where I'm at, you know, we get snows at the wrong time, sometimes this, that, and everything was warm, and it would, you know, we'd have in the teens, and then it would go up to 50 degrees, and I just never really felt comfortable on the ice. I probably the ice right now is better than it has been, but now we're getting 50-degree days again and stuff. So I just never went out. I did attend one of Mark Martin's ice fishing schools up on Black Lake, so I got some great photos and whatnot. But no, I haven't wet a line. Now, I did do some line wetting with steelhead this winter, but when it came to being on the ice, I just didn't do it. And you know, I figured I didn't even get my ice fishing equipment out because it got such a large late start and whatnot. And then I figured, hey, if I go with my buds, I'll just borrow their stuff and complain about it.
How important is gear in a successful fishing trip?
You know, it depends on how much you fish. I mean, so sometimes, let's say there's a camp or, you know, kids or whatever, and they want to go out, and I'll help them maybe ice fish. And I mean, there's obviously rods and reels that, I mean, you can get $100 ice rod now. That's not even including the reel. And, you know, if you fish a lot, maybe that's something you want, or it's the perfect, you know, for your technique you like to do. But, you know, sometimes just nice, inexpensive stuff. I mean, like Schoolies. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand.
I'm not.
Okay, so Schoolies, they're a Michigan company. They got the plastic reel. It looks like kind of like a fly reel, but it's laying flat, and it's just an inexpensive rod. I mean, you can buy this rod and reel for $10. That's caught some amazing fish. some amazing fish.
And this is called Schoolies, and it's a Michigan company.
It is.
Where are they out of?
It is. I can't remember what. I knew you were going to ask me that.
Well, I'm going to look them up.
Yeah, look them up. Yeah.
Also, I just looked up the dates of the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids. It is indeed March 9th through the 12th.
Excellent.
And you will be the like the voice of God at that event too.
Yeah. So I do a couple different jobs there. I'm do a little bit of publicity work. That opening day, when the radio stations are there and stuff, I will gather people that are in the know and have them, be able to be interviewed. I do a press release or two for them, and then also, I'm that voice that announces the up and coming events and whatnot. I will also be introducing people back on Lake Ultimate, the 110,000 gallon lake in the back corner of the boss place there. So it's pretty cool stuff.
How did you get that gig?
This is honest to God's truth. I have the report card to prove it. 4th grade, Mrs. Beatty, handwritten. David would do better in school if he would just shut up. Okay, so that's how I got the job.
You got the job talking because your 4th grade teacher said that you talk too much.
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
You'd be a great radio show host.
Oh, thank you.
But don't go into that because I don't need any more competition.
No, going up against you? No, I wouldn't.
Hang tight, Dave. We got to take a break. We're talking with Dave Rose on the Outdoor Magazine Show. You can find out more about Dave on Facebook. Look for David A. Rose on Facebook. David A. Rose on Facebook. Again, the big Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids coming up next weekend, March 9th through the 12th. The website showspan.com for details, showspan.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear some Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. You might say, it's too early to start thinking about food plots. It's really not. Now is the time to start planning your food plot planting season, and it's a great time of year to do some frost seeding. We had Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots on the show a couple of weeks ago to talk about frost seeding. You can find the archive of that on the podcast page of my website. The website for Killer Food Plots is killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Michigan-based, family-owned company. I love that. I've had people say, not Michigan people so much, but people who listen to the podcast outside of Michigan say, it's an interesting show, but it's all Michigan-based. Well, yeah, it is Michigan-based. I don't make any excuses for that at all. This is not a national show. This is a Michigan-based radio show, also available as a podcast. I like to feature Michigan activities, Michigan resources, and Michigan people, including this time around, outdoor writer Dave Rose. You can learn more about him on his Facebook page, David A. Rose on Facebook, David A. Rose on Facebook. So you're bumming that you didn't get on the ice, but what's next on your agenda, Dave?
Well, next on the agenda, steelhead in the rivers is always there. And as soon as the ice, the boat launches get a little more thawed out, there will be some trolling for trout and salmon on the Great Lakes and our inland lakes too. The Department of Natural Resources stocks a lot of trout and even some salmon in some of the inland lakes. And it's a pretty cool venue.
Salmon fishing on an inland lake. So these are truly landlocked fish?
Correct. These are truly landlocked fish. I won't get into the details of where they're at, but, all you have to do is get on the Department of Natural Resources website, check out their fish stocking database, and you can put in there, I want to see where they plant steelhead in the inland lakes, and you can go by county, you can do all the counties, put the years in there, they live about 4 years or 5 years, thereabouts, so put the last 4 years in there and see where they've been stocking different kinds of trout, brown trout, steelhead, all sorts of stuff.
And I get the fact that you don't want to draw too much attention to a particular spot because unlike the Great Lakes, you get a good inland resource going. and people find out about it, they can put a hurting on that thing in a hurry, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they really can. Even a very large lake. And, I totally agree we're going to have to do something about some of our, creel limits and stuff like that. But, with all the new technology of forward-facing sonar and this and that and everything. But, yeah, you can actually overfish a very large body of water if enough people are doing it.
I haven't figured out a use yet in trolling for this live scoping or whatever, but when I see people bass fishing or crappie fishing, and they're looking out ahead of the boat and they can see fish swimming in real time and they can see their lure dropping down to those fish, that is incredible.
Oh, it is. And, there are a lot of bass professionals, walleye professionals, muskie professionals, just professionals. They won't even make a cast until they see a fish. They can watch their lure. They can watch how that fish reacts to it. If the fish is not, in a dull mood, well, they'll move on. So they're literally casting they can cast to one specific fish. Wow.
Will there be seminars on how to use these new high-tech electronics at that Grand Rapids show coming up?
That's a good question. I haven't looked at the seminar schedule yet because, things change last minute,
right.
or whatever. But any professional out there will talk about, if you ask them, raise your hand, ask a question, they will talk about all sorts of stuff. Lance Valentine will be there.
I see Lance is going to be quite a bit. In fact, I'm looking at Mark Romanak, Mark Martin, Lance Valentine, Wayne Carpenter, Joel Piatek. Yep. How does Joel say his last name?
Pitek.
Pitek, okay. Jake Romanak, Dan Armitage, Tim Andrus, Denny Gerink, Tom Richardson, a whole list. It goes on and on and on. Another great show coming up, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. A lot to do. Besides just having, right now, people are getting product back, these different companies. Canadian outfitters are allowed to come over the border again and promote their lodge or whatever. The show is, full blast.
Well, and it's been going on forever. As I say, this is my favorite show of the year because I used to go to this show with my dad when I was a kid in downtown Grand Rapids. It's still going on today. Like, how many years, Dave? Do you know that one offhand?
This is the 74th year. Older than you.
Well, older than both of us combined, I think, almost.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah.
No, this is a great show. And listen, I'm going to try to make it down there. And this time I won't when I hear your voice, I will follow the sound of your voice and I will see you in person, I promise.
Yeah, and you got my cell phone number. I can't hear my phone, but, text me, do whatever, and say, hey, and I'll call you
I'll
back.
meet you over by Lake Ultimate or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
All right, perfect, Dave. Appreciate your time. We'll look forward to the show, and I'll have you back on the air here again soon.
I appreciate it. We'll see you.
Dave Rose, you can find him on Facebook. David A. Rose on Facebook. David A. Rose on Facebook. And don't forget about that big Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids coming up next weekend, the 9th through the 12th. That's at DeVos Place, downtown Grand Rapids. Details at the website showspan.com. That's showspan.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world. His name is Paul Phillips. He's a Michigan guy. He's going to talk about the 4-mile shot and how that can help you as a hunter in Hour 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and glad to have you along with us. I do think the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station. But if for some reason your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, yes, this is a 3-hour show, or if you can't quite get the broadcast signal where you live, I also do a podcast version of the show. Now, when I say a podcast version, it's not a separate version. It is the same audio from the radio show, but it's made available as a podcast. You can hear that on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on so many other places. Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, the whole gamut. I even put it up on YouTube. I know it doesn't make any sense because it's not a video show. It's an audio program, but I put it on YouTube as well. I'm a big fan of radio. I mean, I've spent my entire career in broadcasting and now recently broadcasting and social media. So I love the way to reach people that radio presents. I find it so much more rewarding and enjoyable than television. But I do embrace social media. I'm also quite active on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And I do like podcasting. I think podcasting is a very interesting and fascinating way to reach people because it's so easy to do. Anybody, you listening right now, if you have an idea for a concept or a program or a project or some message you want to get out, some word you want to get out, you can literally produce a podcast and distribute it using your phone. So I think it's a medium that is open to anybody. And I take advantage of it well. In addition to the podcast version of the radio show, I also produce monthly podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Angler Quest Boats, Primal Outdoors, Polar Craft Boats, and Offshore Tackle. And when we're done here in the studio recording this week's radio show, we will switch gears and record this week's Offshore Tackle podcast. So keep an ear out for that if you would. Regardless of how you are listening to me, when you are listening to me, where you are listening to me, and what show you are listening to, I appreciate the fact that you're hearing my voice. There's a lot of different content out there these days that you could be listening to. And I wouldn't have been able to survive in this world as long as I have without your support. And I do greatly appreciate it. I always say one of the television show allowed me to go some very cool places, and it was a good experience. It was fun. I don't miss it at all. But the thing about radio, one of the things that I enjoy the most is it gives me a chance to have more in-depth conversations with some very interesting and knowledgeable people, some true experts. You know, I'm not an expert in anything, but I know who the experts are, and I've been around long enough that I know how to get in touch with them. Well, our next guest right now is an easy guy for me to get in touch with because he's been a friend of mine for, 30 years now. His name is Paul Phillips, and he is undeniably one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world. Now, what is an extreme long-range shooter? To me, extreme long-range might be 600 yards. But to a guy like Paul Phillips, extreme long-range shooting is measured in miles. And Paul and his crew recently documented a 4-mile shot on video. How impressive is that? So I wanted to get Paul back on the show to talk about that, and then also how this technology and the research they've done, how it can affect or how it can relate to us average Michigan deer hunters, say. And he's graciously agreed to join us here on the phone line. Paul, welcome back to the show. How are you, buddy?
Great, Mike. I just was driving back from the UP. I was up in Munising and Marquette area, snowmobiling yesterday, and it was beautiful, 40 and sunny, and 2-3 foot of fresh snow. It was just great.
Perfect.
I pulled off the road here on 61, so I'm just sitting here in the parking lot, and I got a chance to drive through the whole state and see all the beautiful views of the lakes, and we live in a great state, Mike.
Oh, we do, and you and I have talked about this before. And Paul, in your previous life and the different careers you've had, you have literally traveled this country, traveled North America, and routinely traveled the world, but you choose to make Michigan your home. Why is that?
Obviously, first and foremost, that's where my family's from and relatives and friends. But, all the hunting and the motorcycle riding and the snowmobiling and all the fishing and all the recreational things that I grew up loving to do. We have the best stuff right here in the world, right here in Michigan. I mean, we have one of the best states in the world to go anywhere we want, anytime we want, and, enjoy our freedoms and the things we love to do is right here.
How did a kid who grew up in Midland, Michigan, end up where you are today with the cool things you've done and honestly being regarded as maybe the top extreme long-range shooter in the world? How did you get to this point, Paul?
I just think the strong work ethic. My family were farmers. We're the first generation not to farm, but right in Midland, we were farmers my whole life. Fifth generation farmer, and I think just the strong work ethic and the hunting and fishing and those types of things. I kept it a goal to achieve goals, and just slowly but surely just started inching away at these goals and knocking them off and having fun doing them, and then staying out of trouble. I mean, that's probably the biggest things, staying at it, keeping your goal, staying out of trouble, not getting sucked down the rabbit hole of the negativity in the world, and staying away from the, bad influences, and, keeping your nose clean, accomplishing goals, having fun, picking and choosing people that they were healthy to be around. I think those are the main things.
Well, Paul, what you just described, I think, could be used in any field of endeavor.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're all in the same situation in life. You have ups and downs, and you go through trials and tribulations. But just keeping a strong work ethic and keeping your faith and keeping your head up, and not letting things pull at you. Because I tell you, making the U.S. rifle team, that was a huge thing for me. And then, being successful and setting national records, and then getting into the ELR game, there's a lot of people that were naysayers and said that I was wasting my time trying to do these, 3 and 4 mile attempts. And by golly, we did it. And, the things we learned, now we're, number 1 ranked team in the world and winning these big competitions. So it's paid off, I mean, again, sticking to your goals, having fun. It's a challenge to, do something that no one's ever done before. And I just look at it as a kind of a game, just challenge yourself and sticking to it. And, hey, if you fail, that's fine. You take good notes and then try it again. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, this most recent accomplishment, you documented a 4-mile shot. I mean, this is documented. This is true. It happened. I can see it. In fact, I posted the video on my Facebook page. How in the world do you hit a target at 4 miles?
A little bit of calculation. It started out just with the long range. Way back when we did the TV show with you, we were shooting 600 yards.
600 yards, and I thought it was the longest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, 600 yards was a long shot, right? Well, and then I started shooting on the U.S. rifle team, and then we were shooting at competitions out to 1,000 yards. Which is over a half a mile. That's a long shot within itself. And then we started doing ELR in 2016, and we were, shooting out to distances of, a mile and beyond, a mile and a half. And then just recently, within the last couple of years, we pushed it to 2, 3, and 4. Now in competition, we only shoot out to 2 miles is the farthest we shoot in competition. Sometimes 4,000 yards, 2.5 miles is the longest shot in competition. But obviously, we want to keep pushing the limits to learn. And doing that in team practices, we've taken out to 3 and 4 just to learn about ballistics and development of all the components, the bullets, the brass, the powder, barrels, ballistic programs, that sort of thing. So that's why we're doing that. We're pushing out in an exhibition format to see what we can learn. And we did. We learned a lot from that exhibition, and it was also fun.
How long is the bullet in the air in a 4-mile shot?
Let me look at my notes here real quick. 'Cause I've done so many. I pulled up the notes for the shot. I have them in front of me, so we can talk shop now, talk turkey here. So it was a 7,070 yard shot, which is a little over 4 miles, like 4.01 miles, and it was in the air for around 23 seconds time of flight. So yeah, you could do a lot of things in 23 seconds, right?
Oh man, hang tight, Paul. Let's get into the meat of this shot and how what you're doing can affect us as hunters. If you want to learn more about Paul, you can find him on Instagram as ELR Shooter, ELR_shooter. The website is gpgtraining.com. That's gpgtraining.com. Also, Paul has agreed to join us at the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch coming up Wednesday night, the 22nd. So I just got word of that, too. I'm very excited about that. If you want to meet Paul in person and talk with him about what he's doing, this is your chance. The Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch on the 22nd. Details coming up on that as we get closer. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC 1490 AM. 1450 AM and 99.7 FM. And you can hear us in Newbury, north of the bridge, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Suspension Max. When I got my new ZR2 Silverado from the folks at Garber, it was a beautiful truck, but I knew I wanted to do something more for it. So I went over to Suspension Max, and they, the ZR2 is already lifted from the factory a couple of inches, but I needed to bring the front end up even more. So the folks at Suspension Max put a leveling kit on the front end that allowed me to put bigger tires on and really, I think, make that truck look very nice. Most of today's trucks, when they go down the road, they look like they're going downhill. The front end from the factory is lower than the rear end. Now, there are reasons for this. But if you want to bring your truck up in the air, maybe make it a little more aggressive, put a snow plow on the front, put bigger tires on it, the folks from Suspension Max can take care of it for you, as they have for me for the last several vehicles. The website, suspensionmax.com, and that's Max, M-A-X-X, suspensionmax.com. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The website for our guest right now, Paul Phillips, GPGtraining.com. You can also find him on Instagram as ELR_shooter. Things about Paul Phillips. Let's see. His team is ranked number 1 in the world. They won the King of 1 mile. They just documented a 4-mile shot on video. You can see that video on Paul's website and his Instagram feed, and also my Facebook page as well. 23 seconds in the air, Paul. People always ask me, hey, what is your buddy Paul Phillips? What does he shoot? I mean, it's not like a 300 Win Mag. It's not even a 50 cal. What is it, Paul?
The one that we used for the 4 mile is a 416 Barrett. It's like a 50 cal neck down to 416. And, we think we can push it. We're going to be trying a 5 mile attempt next just to see if we can do it. Yeah, 8,800 yards. Like 30 seconds time of flight is our next shot. We're going to try. Just for fun.
Gosh.
It'd be kind of cool. But, when I took my daughter down to Texas when she was, 10 or 11 years old, she was impacting a plate at like a mile and a half, like 2,400 yards with a 260 Remington. So you don't need a big gun like that. I mean, we have a light class, which is 338. That's what we won the King of 1 mile with. We're shooting out to a mile and a half with those guns, no problem. So you'd be surprised. I mean, I was doing a 1 mile seminar for the Marine Corps snipers and the Army snipers out in Texas last year. And we were doing cold bore shots, which means there's no practice shots, no warm-ups. Just lay down, range find, put your zero on and shoot. Just much like you did the time we shot a mile. And we shot four shots in a row, like within 9 inches at a mile with a little 12-pound 300 Norma. So there's a lot of technology now with these guns, and that kind of parlays into the Michigan hunting thing. I mean, we're offering, kind of getting off topic here, but we're offering.
No, it's actually not. It's not off topic at all, Paul. Because I know, one of the reasons you do this is to train military and police snipers and competitive shooters. But that was my main question. Question for you this time around is, how does this relate to us Michigan hunters? Right.
Well, we're offering up to the public. With hunters, if they're preparing for a elk hunt out west or a mule deer hunt or an antelope hunt or a African game hunt, or just Michigan-based hunting. We're offering that same technology and same training through GPG. Just get a hold of us, and we can do a specialized training where we can do anything that they want. I mean, if it's just learning how to utilize your range finding and adjusting your scope and zeroing your scope, I mean, just to have good data, if it's just as simple as that, to extravagant hunt out west. I mean, we can handle all those needs for people, whatever their needs are for hunting. I mean, it's the same technology that the Marine Corps snipers use and competitive shooters use. We're just bringing it to the Michigan-based hunters in the Midwest to help people having a higher success to achieve what they want.
All right, if somebody wants to take advantage of this, can they come to you with their stock hunting rifle, or do they need something special, something
Absolutely.
more?
No, we can work with what they have, or we can, if they're getting ready to purchase something, we can help with that, consult on that, give them the best options we feel, and then we can help them train with their gun. I mean, that's the way I prefer it, really. And we should do that in the fall before the next hunting season with you, with your gun, is, go through a typical train up for the season. And that'd be really, I think, helpful, beneficial, and entertaining.
Well, I do as well. I've got that 350 Legend from Brenton USA Hunting Rifles out of Lansing. What kind of range could I get out of that gun? I'm thinking of that as a kind of a short range gun, but I'm sure you're going to tell me it's much more than what I thought.
No problem out to 300, Mike. I really do think we can get zeros out to 300, and you can consistently engage target at an unknown distance, range find it, adjust your scope, and be able to put a really well-placed shot, your first shot on target out to 300 yards.
Wow.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I would hope for that, too. By then, too, I will have my suppressor, a can on that, just because some of my hunting situations, I'm in an enclosed blind, and I think that'll help me out a lot.
Oh, man.
But is that going to affect the accuracy at all?
Actually, I've found that I've actually had increased accuracy with cans. Absolutely. It's great. I mean, suppresses the noise. It makes it more comfortable for anybody in the blind, including yourself and your own hearing, and also could increase accuracy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So will you do these training sessions for hunters? Is this going to be somewhere in Michigan, or are we going to have to go out west on a real long range,
It all depends on what their needs are, and what they want to accomplish. If they want to compete or if they want to just get into a hunting scenario, we have a lot of resources available that we can choose from around this state and around other states. So, if anybody's interested, just get a hold of me, and we can, talk about what their needs are, and we can, accommodate anybody.
What are we going to need? What is a long-range hunter going to need in addition to that gun? We're not going to have all the kestrels and everything like you guys use.
It all depends on what their needs are. If it's a Michigan-based hunter and he wants to shoot out to, let's say, 300, 400, or 500 yards, I don't think that we would need that necessarily. I always recommend there's a lot of rangefinders now that also work as binoculars that are really good. I personally use a Sig Sauer rangefinder, which is reasonably priced, but there's all kinds of them. Go to Jay's, and they have a whole selection there that's well budgeted for everybody. But those will all work. But if you're doing a shot that's, let's say, inside 500-600 yards, you probably don't even need any fancy kestrel or anything. But obviously, if you have it in your budget, I think at minimum a good range-finding binocular to make sure you know what the distance is, and then having a cross-reference with your zeros that we'll go through in this training, and then you'll have this established zeros, and you just would range-find it, go off your zero cheat sheet, we call it, and then make the shot. You wouldn't necessarily have to have a ballistic computer and all that stuff. But if you want to go farther than 500 to 600 yards, then I would highly suggest investing in a kestrel and having all the information on you, especially when you're traveling to different states where you have different environments.
What about a scope? Good glass has got to be a big part of this.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. Obviously I'm kind of leaning toward higher-end scopes because I'm more of a competitive shooter and I want the solid clicks, but they do make, low-budgeted and medium-budgeted scopes that work very well that do a great job. So it's just kind of what your budget is, and we also can recommend different types of equipment for that too.
What would you
recommend? The biggest thing with scopes is the biggest thing with scopes is the adjustability. There's certain scopes that are limited in adjustability for long-range shooting. So that's really the big thing there with scopes, is to make sure that they have maybe a target turret type style elevation knobs, and then have the adjustability, so you have the range to reach farther distances.
What would you say, and if there is such a thing, I don't know, is there a perfect or a best Michigan deer caliber?
Boy, that's a good question. I think it's more personal preference, Mike. Obviously the old 308 is the old staple. 308 and 30-06. People have been using those for a long time. They're great cartridges, and they'll shoot out to 1,000 yards, no problem. Definitely more than capable anywhere in Michigan. But then now, the military and snipers and stuff are kind of getting into the 300 Norma. A little bit more velocity, a little bit more energy, for if the guy wants to go out west and whatnot. So I think kind of in that realm is good. The 243s are great too, especially for juniors and youth and smaller statured people. Those are great. The lowest recoil. And nowadays with affordability, I mean, good Lord, price of ammo is going through the roof. So, all those things are good questions and good things to look at. But, I think for me personally, Mike, I think going with a standard cartridge is probably more important just for availability. It's hard to find ammo these days.
Yeah, well, and the ammo you guys do, that's got to be all handmade, custom made, right?
Correct. Yeah, we do all of our own custom made ammunition, but there are companies now that are doing very well with making good quality ammunition over the counter.
You're making a lot of people a lot of money, Paul.
Well, I'd like to start making a few bucks with snowmobile gas.
Fair enough. Hey, also, while I got you, and I got to let you go here, I appreciate the fact that you have agreed to join us for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, Wednesday night, March 22nd. Paul, you alone will be a big draw. People want to come in and see you and talk to you, so I appreciate the fact that you're going to join us.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'll bring my gun like I did last time, and they can kind of see the setup for this 4-mile shot, and then maybe I'll bring some other kind of things to look at. Oh,
cool. That will be great. Paul, I appreciate that. Be safe on the rest of your drive home. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome, Mike. Thanks again, man.
All right. Paul Phillips, you can find him on Instagram as ELR_shooter, ELR_shooter. You can also find him. His website is gpgtraining.com, gpgtraining.com. And I just was looking here. I just got confirmation of somebody else is going to be joining us for the Wednesday Night Live in West Branch, but I really don't want to announce that quite yet. By the way, if you want to make a reservation for that event, you can call the restaurant at 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. And make your reservations. Hope to see you there. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Clay Buchanan of the DNR talking about, I think, a land grant program they have coming up. And then this week's Ask Avery segment talks about, can you use an air bow to hunt within Michigan? And can you use an air rifle? I'll have the answers for that coming up in this week's Ask Avery segment. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Cairo on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX and in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Michigan-based Boning Archery. Boning, a leader in the archery industry since 1946. They continue to innovate today to come up with new products, new manufacturing processes. As I hit the springtime turkey woods and the springtime bear hunting woods, you can bet my rig will have Michigan-based Boning products on it. I would encourage you to check it out. The website, boning.com, BOHNING.com, boning.com. Think Blazer Vanes when you want to know what boning is up to these days, blazer veins and more, boning.com. I want to turn our attention now to the Michigan DNR. Clay Buchanan is along with me. Clay, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining us.
Hi, Mike. Good to talk to you, Jay. How are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, you are you want to let us know about, I think this is, if I remember right, the Michigan Wildlife Habitat Grant Program?
Correct. Michigan Wildlife Habitat Grant Program.
Yeah, give me the details.
Sure. So this is a program that started about 10 years ago and is really about getting money to partners, conservation partners, habitat on the ground for all wildlife species, mainly focused on game species, but we like them all too.
Now, is this geared toward conservation groups, or can individuals apply as well?
Sure, great question. All of the above, really. Most folks are eligible, including private landowners, for-profit companies, agencies, and not-for-profit groups. So it really stretches the whole gamut.
So what's the criteria? We have to prove to you guys or whoever's making these decisions how we're going to use this money, and how specific a details do you need to apply?
Sure. It's a pretty detailed program, so we like to see a kind of habitat plan, how you're going to lay out what you're going to do. Maps are good. We always like to see pictures and maps of kind of what's going on in your property, where you're going to do, say a grassland restoration or tree planting or any of those types of things. And how it's going to benefit wildlife. What species are you focusing on? And, if possible, it's not always possible, but it doesn't benefit the public too. It's public dollars. So are we benefiting the public too? Which, that can be just supporting the wild habitat populations that pass through.
How much land do we have to have, Clay, to make this happen?
Sure. There's no minimum or maximum. We take, we've done a few acres to several hundreds of acres. And, there's no limit there. There is a limit on the amount. We do have a minimum amount of $15,000 that you must ask for the grant. So it's a kind of a hefty bite for some folks, but we like to see those, again, kind of larger benefit projects.
15 grand. I want to make sure I understand that. Does the person applying have to put in 15,000 of their own money, or what is that 15 grand? What is that?
Yeah, great question. So that is the amount that the state will offer, that the DNR will pay you. So you have to do enough work to cover that 15 grand. Included in the whole project, you do have to provide 10%, and that could be in cash. That could be your tractor time, sitting on a tractor, or you buy trees or something along those lines. So it can be cash or in kind. But it has to cover at least 10% of the project.
Well, that makes sense. You got to have some skin in the game.
Right.
So how, Clay, what's the process? How does somebody apply for this? And when is the deadline, I should ask?
Sure. Yeah, we'll start with that. The deadline is March 16th. So coming up shortly, I would suggest start looking into it if you're interested in putting an application. The best way to gather some more information is at the DNR website. And there's a whole list of kind of grant programs if you search grants on the Michigan DNR website. But the Wildlife Habitat Grant is one of those. And there is a handbook and information section on the website that lists out all of those things, the criteria. So, what we're looking for, how you're going to do all the stuff as we've already kind of talked about. But also has contact information, has priorities that we want to see for each region in the state. All those kind of things listed out in that handbook. And then once you decided what you want to do, there is a link to the grants application site, and you have to go in there and create an account and fill out all the stuff that goes along with it.
And when will these grants be announced?
We're aiming for May, so we hope to get money out available to folks to kind of start stuff in May and early June. So we hopefully can get a planting season under us right away. But the grants go for 2 years, so it gives you a little bit of time a little bit of wiggle room in case things, things happen.
So they do, yeah. Mother Nature, exactly. And so these are 2-year grants. Do you let these out every other year, or do you let them out every year knowing they're 2-year grants?
Right, the latter. So
Okay.
we annually provide this funding source, and we know that they're going to overlap and keep going.
Clay Buchanan, appreciate you letting us know about this. Details on the website, michigan.gov/DNR under grants. It's a Michigan Wildlife Habitat Grant Program. Helps out the critters, helps out people. Clay, appreciate your time, and we'll talk again.
Thanks a bunch.
Michigan.gov/DNR and do a search for grants. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap up the second hour of this week's show with the Ask Avery segment. I love the Ask Avery segment. This is your chance to get involved in the content of the show, and we have a couple of questions relating to that. You can always reach out to me. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's the way to get questions to me, comments, criticisms, concerns. Mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by my friends from Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. You may know this by now, but a quick reminder of what the Ask Avery segment is all about. You know, most of the show I sit here and I talk with my guests, and I ask them questions of interest to me and hopefully of interest to you. But you don't really get a chance to get involved in that conversation as a listener of the show. The Ask Avery segment allows you to get directly involved in the content of your show, the show. This is your chance to ask me a question, something you would like me to answer based on my knowledge, such as it is, or my experience, or I can pass a question along to somebody else that I might have access to that you don't. MUCC, DNR, maybe somebody like that. And the best way, by the way, to get those questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And that is what Jim Z, I don't have Jim's full last name, but it's Jim Z. And I actually think this is a really great question, by the way. He sent me an email. He says, Mike, hello, Mike. He said, I own a 50 caliber Seneca PCP air gun that is legal in Michigan for hunting white-tailed deer. PCP, I think, is pneumatic. It's an air gun, right? He says, this firearm is also capable of firing an air bolt. Can I use my 50 caliber pneumatic air rifle with an air bolt during the Michigan deer hunting season? Now, the air bolt, commonly known as an air bow, this is something that got a lot of attention here in Michigan and nationwide several years ago, when a manufacturer, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't remember exactly, and I don't want to make a misstatement here. But you could put an actual arrow with a broadhead on it inside the barrel of this gun and shoot an arrow with a broadhead out of an air gun. And these aren't toy air guns. These are pretty sophisticated pieces of equipment. At that time, when it was being looked at, the Michigan DNR bought one of these, or I don't know, maybe the company sent it to them for evaluation. But they gave one of these, they put these in the hands of some conservation officers. And they told the conservation officers, go out and shoot this thing and tell us what you think. And I know this happened because I know some of the wardens who were directly involved in this. The consensus was that this is a pretty cool piece of gear here, and it's a lot of fun to shoot. But it is very, very accurate, and we're not sure we want it in the woods for hunting here in Michigan. So if you check the 2022 Hunting Digest, it says, can I hunt with an air bow? No, it is unlawful to hunt using an air bow during any season for any species in Michigan. So Jim's follow-up question, can I hunt with an air gun in general? Again, if you go to the 2022 Hunting Digest, it says pneumatic air guns or air guns are considered firearms for hunting purposes. Pneumatic guns, though, must meet firearm requirements for season, species hunted, and the zone that you're hunting in. So yes, you can use a pneumatic air gun to hunt with as long as it's appropriate in the area that you're hunting, as long as it's appropriate in the season that you have it, and it has to be a big enough caliber air gun to fulfill the legal requirements. But these guns are not toys anymore. In fact, this is the perfect segue. Thank you, Jim Z. This is the perfect segue into our third hour as I talk with Tom Simmon from High Pressure Pneumatics, a company that specializes in these high-end, high-pressure air guns. We'll talk more about that. But Jim, listen, I appreciate that question. Jim Z, thank you for asking that. And again, if you want to ask me a question, or if you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And I'll see if I can't get it answered for you. And Jim, again, that was a great question. I appreciate that very much. And I also appreciate the fact that the folks at Security Credit Union are interested enough in the outdoors, in the outdoor lifestyle, and those of us who love the outdoors, that they would, I hate to use the word sponsor, that they would make the Ask Avery segment possible for you every week. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Also, again, looking ahead to March 22nd, I just got confirmation from a couple of other folks who are going to join us, Ted and Sherry Harpham. Ted is from Darton Archery. He will be joining us. He will also bring something to give away to our friends who join us that night. And Sherry Harpham, Freakin' Pickles. Freakin' Pickles are really darn good. She will have some gift certificates for Freakin' Pickles as well. So this Wednesday night live coming up at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch is shaping up to be a very, very fun event. I hope you can join us. You will not need tickets, but you will need reservations. Call 989-343-0892. 989-343-0892. If you call that number and you get an answering machine, give them your name and number, and they will call you back to confirm. 989-343-0892. Wednesday night live at the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, coming up March 22nd. Hour 3 of Outdoor Magazine after the break.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed. This is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. And again, so glad to have you along with us. I was thinking about earlier in the week here as I was kind of putting the show together about what's going on in the outdoors this week. And then I got this email from Jim Z with a great question about pneumatic air guns. And I thought, you know what? I can use this as a way of getting into a segment in the show this week. I first met Tom Simmon when he was at Jay's Sporting Goods. In fact, if I remember right, I think I bought a gun safe from Tom, and he gave me great advice at the time. He said, look at what you think you need and then buy a bigger model than what you think you need. And you know what? He was absolutely right, because I bought that safe at Jay's. I had the guys from Jay's deliver it, and I started putting guns in there, and I thought, man, it's a good thing that I took Tom Simmons' advice. Well, Tom, when he was at Jay's, was very much involved and interested in the concept of high-pressure pneumatic air rifles even to the point of hunting with them. Well, these days, Tom has branched out. He has his own company called High Pressure Pneumatics. You can find more about him and the company on the website myhighpressureair.com. And Tom is with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back to the show. How have you been?
Good, thank you, Mike. Nice talking to you again.
Hey, a real pleasure talking to you as well. So tell me how this high pressure air and your transition into your own company, how did this all happen? Obviously, there's an interest in this concept here in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, it started out as I worked for Jay's for almost 30 years, got them involved with the PCPs, and I started out as a fill station to complement them to help sell the air rifles. If you can't fill them or no place close to fill them, it turns people off. Then from there, I had some requests for some higher-end air guns. Got the blessing of the owners of Jay's that I step out to that, not cross the line to what we do at Jay's, and it just took off from there. So eventually I had to make the decision of do my own thing or stay with Jay's, and I chose my own thing. So.
And PCP, what does that stand for?
Pre-charged pneumatic.
Pre-charged pneumatic. What does that mean?
Guns have their own onboard air cylinder, whether it's a cylinder, aluminum bottle, carbon fiber bottle. So they've got air anywhere from 2,000 to 4,300 PSI of air on the gun, ready to go.
So what caliber guns are we talking? The full gamut here?
Anywhere from 177 up to, I think they're up to a 72 caliber air gun now.
Well, 177. I mean, that's a very familiar 177. The 22 caliber pellet. Those guns, like even spring-loaded air guns or spring-loaded guns, have been out for a long time, right?
Yes, PCPs have been around since even before the Lewis and Clark days. Lewis and Clark used a PCP gun on their Louisiana Purchase.
Really?
Expeditions.
I had no idea that was the case.
Yep, they've been around for a long, long time. It's been up until just a few years ago. They've been pretty underground, real popular in the States, but nobody knew much about them. And with YouTube being the way it is, it's brought a lot of attention. Then there a couple years ago through the COVID and all the firearms and ammo being so hard to get, more people found the air guns and found out, hey, we can get these. They can shoot really good, super accurate. They're fun to shoot, quiet, powerful, everything guys kind of looking for to a degree. And that's helped grow the market also.
Well, and I want to go back to the Lewis and Clark. How did they charge those guns, or how did they come up with the pressure to arm those guns back then?
You know what? I can't remember the full story, but I know I spent the evenings with whoever they had with them to get air to the guns, and they knew whenever they had to use them with the Indians or anything like that, they knew they only had one or two shots. So that would demo it to kind of put, fear, give them some fear of them and go that way, because they knew they couldn't keep powder dry on the expedition.
That's interesting. And you say COVID was actually good for your field, your industry, your part of the industry here recently.
Yes. I mean, with COVID, people being put out of work and everything being shut down, more people were watching YouTube, finding out more about them. They had, to a certain ability, they had time to get away now, from working from home or being out of work or whatever. And it just really started growing after that. So.
Well, what about availability today? Like, you still got to, even though it's not a traditional firearm, you still got to have a gun of some form, and you still got to have some kind of ammunition. What about availability of your stuff?
Extremely good availability. There's still some of the real popular guns that might be 4 to 8 week back order list on some of them, but a lot better than it was a year and 2 years ago. I mean, my racks are full. I've got some of the most popular guns up on the rack, back stock, ready to go.
And who's coming into the shop to buy these? Are these first-time airgun buyers, or are these people who are pretty high-end aficionados?
Both. I mean, I've got guys off the street that heard about us or seen air guns, want to stop in and check it out and ask questions. I've got the guys that have been around for a long time, been into it, finally heard about what we're doing here, and getting some of those customers, whether it's the website or the walk-in guys. And I don't do just the high end. I do go down. I mean, my price points start at about $300 and go up from there. All the way up to, I think the most expensive one I got right now is a $3,500 air rifle.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you really get into this, how crazy can you get?
Oh, you You can go crazy. Some of the aftermarket accessories you can buy for these things and really personalize it and trick them out to what you want them to be.
So are people, Tom, using these as target guns or as hunting guns?
Both. I put on up here myself at the Harrison Sportsman's Club, I put on a 100-yard bench rest match. Those start in April and run through September. Might even start up an N50 bench rest match. The few other clubs do a 50-yard bench rest match where we shoot along with the rimfire guys and also egg shoots. I've got quite a few guys. One of my local customers took his bear, I think it was 2 seasons ago, with his .457 air rifle.
Jeez. I had no idea.
Of them taking deer.
No idea. I had no idea you could shoot 100 yards with an air rifle.
Yeah. I've got some local customers taking muskrats out at 280 yards with an air rifle. So, they're accurate enough to do it.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun.
I'd say probably about 95% of my air gun guys will tell you that their most accurate gun in their safe is their air rifle.
Really? Now, I'm thinking, too, that they're quieter than a traditional gunpowder gun?
Oh, yeah. Very quiet. Most of them are very backyard friendly. You can moderate them, which is air gun only. You can't put them on a center fire or anything like that. They'll blow apart. They're not threaded for them. But you're pretty much hearing a click of a hammer inside next to your ear and the pellet hitting the target. I mean, they're extremely quiet, virtually no recoil. So youth, the older folks, anybody. I got some customers that have kids with disabilities that the loud noises scare them.
Sure.
With the air rifle, they can sit down with their mom and dad and shoot an air rifle and enjoy it.
Well, this is appealing from so many different perspectives, and I'm thinking, like in my own case, my hearing is shot, pun intended, from shooting traditional guns. Mm-hmm. If you started a kid out with an air rifle and he stuck with that, you don't have that concern about losing your hearing because of shooting.
Right. Yeah, you don't. I mean, of course, wear eye protection always.
Sure.
Force that eye protection, but hearing protection sitting at the bench with most any of the small bore air guns, you don't need hearing protection. You hardly hear the things. They're extremely accurate and without recoil. It helps the guys that haven't stretched themselves out to use big bore air rifles for hunting. It makes them better shots with their firearms because they're shooting all year long and they get to practice that trigger control and everything, so you don't have the recoil.
Ah.
It really lets you sit there and practice and get good form. And when you get into your center fire for deer season, most technically you're probably a better shot at that time.
Now, when you say small bore, what are we talking there?
I claim small bore anything up to about a 30 caliber air rifle. Once we break over that, then we're in the big bores of the 357s, 457s, 50 cals.
A 50 caliber air gun.
Yep. And these guns, most of these big bores, you're going to produce anywhere, depending on the gun and everything you're running, you're going to be anywhere from 300 foot-pounds up to about 800 foot-pounds now, I think a couple more claiming.
Now, how does that compare to a traditional hunting rifle?
Way lower than what a traditional hunting rifle is. Most of your hunting rifles are, a few hundred foot-pounds of energy. I kind of relate these to the generations of my age, your age, that used to use the old side locks and the black powder guns. You're dealing with a lot of the same velocities and same arcs. Just you don't have the powder, you don't have all the cleaning, residue, anything like that. So
Gotcha. We're talking with Tom Simmon about this whole concept of high-pressure pneumatic air rifles. In fact, his company is called High Pressure Pneumatics. You can find more about him on his website, myhighpressureair.com, myhighpressureair.com. As I say, I first met Tom when he was at Jay's. He was there for, 30 years or so. Got to know him there. He has branched out. By the way, you still can buy air rifles at Jay's. I want to make that very clear. Jay still has a selection of air rifles. But Tom took it to the next level and started his own company. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll talk more about how to take advantage of the expertise that Tom has accumulated over the years, and maybe you actually want to take him into the field for the hunting seasons coming up. myhighpressureair.com is the website. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM and 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins, Michigan-based VersaSkins. What a great company. Company owner Paul Perrone came up with a great concept. He says, why spend a bunch of money on different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set that is wind resistant, water resistant, and warm, and then just snap on and zip on an outer shell to the motto is change your skin for the season you're in. And it makes great sense, and it's a great way to save some money while still getting great quality hunting clothes. Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Also, while you are online, please head over to my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and then go to myhighpressureair.com. Myhighpressureair.com is the website of Tom Simmon and his high-pressure pneumatics company, talking about air guns. These are high-performance, high-powered air guns. Tom, these things aren't toys at all, are they?
No, they are not toys whatsoever. They're not what we grew up with, our Daisy Red Riders and 880s and stuff like that. These are way above that.
So let's talk about the specifics. You said these are pre-charged pneumatics. Again, what does that mean, pre-charged?
Pre-charged, so you have an air source on the gun, whether it's a tube, aluminum bottle, or a carbon fiber bottle. So the air is right there with the gun.
Oh, I got
and
you.
Every
Okay.
trigger, you're looking up the valve that's letting the air through to project your projectile.
So do you charge them? I mean, in the past, before you opened your shop, would you go to like a dive shop and charge them there, or how would you do it?
Dive shops, up to 3,000 PSI, you can use a aluminum tank, like the divers would use, scuba divers would use, scuba tank. Mm-hmm. Then there's some, like myself and other scuba shops, that can fill to 4,500 PSI, which then you use a carbon fiber tank. Then you can top your gun off from that. You can buy compressors from personal compressors that will hook up to your car battery or plug into your wall outlet to charge, all the way up to bigger compressors that will do 4,500 PSI and fill your tanks, your guns, and everything. You can also use on some of the other guns a hand pump that looks similar to a bicycle pump, only they're 3 and 4 stage to be able to pump the 4,500 PSI.
And how many shots are you going to get out of that tank or that reservoir in the gun itself?
All would depend on the gun, the size of the tank, and everything, but you're going to be anywhere from 25 shots to 177 caliber impact to like 200 shots before you need to worry about topping off.
Wow.
Now, the big bore guns, you're going to get 1 to 3 full power shots and have to top it back off.
But that 177, which we're all familiar from, that caliber pellet's been around forever. Man, you could go to the range all day on one charge.
Yes. Yep. We just set up an impact for a customer coming to pick it up today, and I can pretty much guarantee he's going to probably get at least 200 shots out of that gun before he has to worry about topping it off. Wow. So are the players in this part of the business, are they the same companies like the Crossmans and I got a mental block here, but the same people who make the lower end air guns, are they also the big boys in the high end guns? No, you got Crossman, Benjamin. Pneumatics. They've got like the Benjamin Marauders. They've got some more higher end guns like the Gunner and such. Pneumatics, their highest end gun right now. PCP is probably their Hammer, their 50 cal. Other than that, then you're looking at companies like FX out of Sweden, Daystate, Brocock out of England. Those are some of the big players in the higher end markets. Air gun technologies. There's a lot of guns coming out of the Eastern Bloc that are very high quality. A lot of those guys will use CZ barrels that the firearm guys will be familiar with. Mm-hmm. So most of those higher end guns are mostly overseas. The Air Force Texans, the big bores, they're made here in the States. There's a couple custom companies like XP that do some real big bore, high-end stuff also.
There used to be a real high-end Michigan-based company out of the Thumb, but I think he sold out, didn't he?
Yeah, he sold out to a company in Texas, and the last I knew, they weren't producing any guns again. So I'm not sure what's going on with them. But, yeah, he specialized in big bores, really nice big bores.
Now, a 50 cal air gun, can you actually use that for hunting, or is that too big?
No, that's kind of the hot caliber right now for the past 2 seasons. Everybody's leaning towards the 50s. Personally, I like the 457. I think the ballistics are better on it, but that's me. But guys like that kinetic energy out of a 50, I guess.
Well, so forgive my ignorance here, but a 50 caliber air gun, is the bullet the same size as a 50 caliber rifle? I mean, is a 50 cal, a 50 cal, a 50 cal is the same size regardless of what it's shot out of?
No, in the air gun community, we have 2 sizes of 50 cal. You got a 495, 498. Then, like the Texans and the Umarexes shoot a 510 diameter slug. So it's similar to what you load in a 45-70 per se. So you just got that big lead slug that can weigh up to 500 grain and shoot those 550 grain from Umarex on one of their slugs. So.
Man. So if I shoot a 177 caliber pellet, and I use that as a reference because most people know what that is, if I shoot that out of an old style gun versus one of the new high pressure pneumatics, is it the same pellet, or do you need specialized pellets?
No, same pellet. Same pellet. Now I carry a little bit of the higher end. I don't carry like the Crossman pellets. I carry JSB and FX pellets. Also carry the slugs for 177s on up through the 50 cals. So it's the same pellet we used when we were kids per se. Just the JSB and FX are a little higher quality, more consistent from pellet to pellet.
Is that what the difference is then, the consistency?
Yes, a lot of it is. Now, with that being said, I've got guys shooting some cheap $7, $8 tin Crossmans out of their high-end guns shooting phenomenally. So they run those. So these air guns can be just like our centerfires. They can be a little picky on what they like. Once you find that one they like, you run with it and they're good.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I've had like Glenn Duncan over at Duncan Sports Shop in Bay City always said, listen, you use the ammo that your gun wants. Don't be brand loyal or whatever. Find what ammo your traditional gun wants and use that. You're saying the same thing, Tom Simmon, with air guns?
Yeah, pretty much, yes. Now, some guns, but most anything you run through it might shoot really good, but you're going to find there's one particular pellet, brand, weight, whatever it is, that gun really likes. And the next serial number gun may not like it at all. It might like something totally different. So,
is there a high-pressure pneumatic shotgun?
Yes. Umarex is putting one out, although they say it's a shotgun, but they're shooting a slug, so that one kind of confused me.
Yeah.
But PDA Big Bore, he does a 20-gauge shotgun, and there's someone else out there doing it, and I can't think of the name of them at the moment, but there's a couple people out there doing shotguns.
So I guess my reason for asking is if somebody is fascinated by this, there would be an option to turkey hunt this spring in Michigan with an air gun?
Yes.
Wow. Huh. So who do you see coming in the door, Tom? I asked you this question earlier, but who does this appeal to? Are these seasoned shooters or are these first-timers?
I got them both. First-time people coming in, I've heard about it, want questions answered, want to check them out, shoot them, feel them, get to know it. And I've got other guys that have had a customer in last night. He's been in air guns for 15 years, heard about me, and had to come up and check it out. So I've got kind of the whole gamut that come in.
You got to be one of the bigger ones in the state, aren't you, that specialize in this?
The best of my knowledge, I'm the only shop that does air guns only.
That is a pretty cool niche.
There was a really good shop down in Dryden. He closed up a couple years ago, so that just left me. So, and that's all I do. Everything I carry is oriented towards air guns. I don't get into any of the firearm side per se or anything else. I just specialize air guns.
Okay, so this brings up an interesting side of things then. Do you need to do background checks, or do air guns need to be licensed, or are they their own separate deal?
They're their own separate deal. No federal background check, no licensing, permitting, anything like that.
Boy,
With that being said, when we transport them, we need to follow the gun rules.
Okay.
Keep the ammo separate, case, everything like that. But other than that, it's general merchandise over the counter.
Are there high-pressure pneumatic handguns?
Yes, not in our traditional, like a snub nose or a 357 per se. So most of them are a little bigger than what we would consider for a handgun. But in the PCP market, yes, there's handguns.
All right, so from a business perspective, I've got to ask you this. For a guy who was working under the security of somebody, Jay's Sporting Goods, for 30 years, it must have been a huge jump to go out on your own.
Oh, it was a year of torment on which way to go, because Jay's was a phenomenal company to work for, great people to work for. It was a good job for several years and a great place to work and good friends and everything there. So it was a struggle. And through a lot of the stuff that went down with COVID and everything like that, and the way this business grew, I just had to make that choice.
Sure.
So, and it led this way.
Well, good for you, Tom. I'm glad it's working out, and I appreciate you spending some time with us this week to talk about it. I think it's a very, very interesting topic.
Oh, very interesting. Anytime anybody wants to stop in, check out air guns, we've got them here.
All right, Tom, I appreciate that. The company High Pressure Pneumatics, the website myhighpressureair.com, myhighpressureair.com. Where's the shop, Tom?
We're located in Harrison. We're 4 miles west of Harrison on M61.
All right, very good. All right, Tom, appreciate your time. Good talking to you. We'll talk again.
All right, thank you, Mike. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. High Pressure Pneumatics, again, the website myhighpressureair.com, myhighpressureair.com. I was first exposed to the topic of large caliber air guns with that company Tom and I were talking about out in the Thumb, and I've got a mental block. I can't think of who it was. But at that time, I'm like, this is very cool. Deer hunting with an air gun, small game hunting with an air gun, now springtime turkey hunting with an air gun. You don't have to license them. You don't have to jump through all the hoops. Well, that is until the powers that be find out that they're out there, and then we'll probably have to jump through hoops with air guns as well. I don't know. Interesting topic. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. I've got a few more things I want to follow up on from earlier in the show. And then, of course, we will wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. Depending on when you are hearing this show, we will either be preparing for our big Trinity Monitor wild game dinner or basking in the success of it. And I bring that up because Chef Dixie Dave Minar is our caterer for that event. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up. Stay with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. And you can hear us on the other side of the state in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSGW right now. I'm in a studio that I think of as Pat Johnston's studio. But Pat's not with me here today. Charlie Rude is with me here today, and it's a nice day out there, and there are some crowds building. They're chanting, Charlie, Charlie. But, Charlie, I will tell you, 2 weeks ago when Pat was here, there were people starting to line up. So you don't have this all to yourself anymore, my friend. I know it. But you gotta share it. You got to share the love. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Michigan-based Whack-'em and Plack-'em, a very cool and unique way to show off your trophies. Use them with shoulder mounts, European mounts, even fish. And one of the reasons I really like this company is Jason, the guy behind the company, he had an idea. And he was successful in another business, but he had an idea of something he wanted to do in the outdoor world. And he worked hard, and he made it happen. And I love this, that even, still in today's world, that hard work and dedication and a desire to make something happen, and you can do it. You go to the website, nontypicalinnovations.com. That's nontypicalinnovations.com, and you can see what I'm talking about. Again, very cool and unique way to show off your mounts, nontypicalinnovations.com. Oh, what else? As we're here in the studio right now, I look out the window and the sun's shining. And it's high 30s. Now, there is the weather forecast calls for another snowstorm to come in here in a couple of days. Now, as you are hearing this show, you will know if it happened or not. This late winter has convinced me that I'm not tough enough to live in the UP. It's a good thing I don't live in the UP because the snow has got me beaten down. It has me physically tired from shoveling it. It has me mentally tired from seeing it because in the last 2 weeks, we've had more snow, honestly, than I think I've seen in the last 2 years. It's been really, really crazy, and it's time for it to go away. We are in the month of March now. What do they say? Coming in like a lion, goes out like a lamb, or vice versa? Well, I say it's just time to just go away. Let's move into the springtime season. A couple of things I want to make you aware of. And I've been talking about this, throughout the show, but I want to make sure that you don't miss your window of opportunity here. Coming up Wednesday, March 22nd. We are going to do another Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. We've done a couple of these, but we haven't done one since COVID. So I'm really excited to get back up there. The Wednesday Night Live franchise is something that I do every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on most of my social media outlets. And it's kind of a fun thing. It's a way for you and I to interact and talk about the outdoors and kind of shoot the breeze. It's a venue, it's an avenue that we don't get to do during the radio show because during the radio show, your involvement in the content is somewhat limited. I mean, you can send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com and let me know what you want to talk about, but then we can't directly interact. On the Wednesday Night Live events, I stream to my social media platforms. You can join me and we can have a conversation. You can ask questions, you can make comments, and it's real time. So it's a lot of fun. A few years ago, somebody brought up the concept, well, why don't you take this Wednesday Night Live idea on the road? And we did. And the very first one was at Chef Dixie Dave Minar's. It was called Oscar and Joey's at the it was called the Old Dixie Inn, I think, at the time. And it was very, very popular. So we expanded that. And this last one that we did just before COVID at the Lumberjack Restaurant was a big hit. I'm expecting this one to be the same. This is Wednesday, March 22nd. I think doors open at the Lumberjack at 5:30. The live stream will start at 7 o'clock, so I would encourage you to get there a little bit early, make your reservations. If you want to join us, call 989-343-0892. It won't cost you anything to come in, but I do expect you're going to buy a meal, right? 989-343-0892. If you don't have time to write that down right now, just send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Paul Phillips, who I had on in the second hour of the show, will be joining us. He will bring the rifle and gear that he shot 4 miles at. So you have a chance to talk with him about that. I just found out Ted Harpum of Dart and Archery will be there with us. He might well bring something to give away. Sherry Harpum, Ted's wife, Sherry, from Freakin' Pickles, will be bringing some gift certificates to give away some Freakin' Pickle stuff. And I'm working on some more things to give away as well. Some more reason to get you out of the house that night and have you join us in West Branch at the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant. Besides that, it's a darn good meal. The food there is just excellent. Very, very good. What else? My email address, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And my website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Join me on social media if you are on social media. I'm quite active on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. I do a lot of streaming videos on YouTube. Twitter's out there. I'm on Twitter, but who cares? I mean, I don't care. The stuff that I put on Facebook and Instagram usually just gets shared to Twitter, but I don't really put anything specifically out there for Twitter. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap up this week's show with the man himself, wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. I think we have maybe nearly one last small game recipe. I think this time around it's rabbit. Then we'll switch over to fish. Dixie Dave coming up after the break. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery, but you probably know that by now. And if you've listened to the show at all, you probably know that I like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of this Outdoor Magazine concept, going way back to the early days of the television show. I don't know how many different dishes that we recorded Dave making there in the restaurant, the kitchen of the restaurant, and the dining room of the restaurant. I got a lot of them. In fact, I put some of them on YouTube. You can find those on Mike Avery Outdoors on YouTube. But he's just a great guy, and he's very, very talented, and I love to wrap up each week's radio show with him as well. And he has graciously agreed to join us again this week. David, welcome back. How you doing?
Very good, Mike. It's a nice, bright, sunny day today. It's a welcome change. Wow.
I know. This weather in our part of the state the last couple of weeks has just been crazy, hasn't it?
Up and down. Wow. If you got arthritis, I'm sure you're as bad as much pain as I'm in.
Oh, I tell you what, I do have a little arthritis, and my left wrist is so sore from shoveling snow. But I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm not going to admit to my neighbors I'm an old man, so I'm out there shoveling side by side with them.
Yeah. Just don't take it easy, Mike. You know.
Well, see, that's exactly what my next door neighbor did. He came over the other day and he says, he said, I got to tell you, he said, you really should be careful. You should take breaks and make sure you hydrate yourself. And I'm thinking, doggone it, now you're making me feel like an old man. So I shoveled his sidewalk.
Yeah, you fixed his butt, didn't you?
I did. So listen, enough of that. What do we have this week, David?
I got a rabbit pie recipe. This is one of the ones we did for the TV show about, 15, 20 years ago. Anyway, what you want to do is check your rabbits. You need probably 2 rabbits. Make sure you get all the shot out of it, trim any bloodied meat off. And I would like to either parboil them or put them in a pressure cooker for about 10 minutes or so. And that ought to be long enough for you to pick the meat off of the bones. You don't want any bones in this. So you're going to need probably 2 rabbits for this dish. Like I say, cut it up in pieces, put it in a pressure cooker, and save that liquid if you like. You need about a cup each of potatoes, diced up celery, onions, and carrots, kind of medium small, and then a couple cloves of garlic. What I like to do is take a little bit of olive oil and saute those vegetables up just a little bit, low heat, not too hot. You don't want to burn it, but you want to just kind of start to break the flavor loose. And you need a couple ounces of red wine. I would put that in the pan with, so you're going to deglaze the pan, and then you want to heat that up and cook that down a little bit. And you can add some of that stock from the pressure cooker if you so desire. Need about a teaspoon of basil leaves. Mix that in real good. And then take and mix the meat and 2 jars of beef gravy and check it for salt and pepper if you want to add some to it. I would like a lot of pepper in this dish because it could be a little zippy, and I would like that a lot. So you're going to take either the dough. You can buy dough sheets, or you can buy unbaked pie shells, and you still need a topping for it. So whatever you're going to do, whatever's easiest for you. I would take and cool this down a bit, mix all of the meat together, and then a jar of beef gravy or more, depending on what you think. If you're making two pies, 1 jar ought to be plenty, good enough. So mix it up real good, spoon it into one of the or both of your pie shells, and then roll out the dough a little bit, and then paint the edges with a beaten up egg. Put the dough on top, and then you can either take a fork or you can crimp it with your forefinger and the thumb and another finger and make that nice little design all around. Kind of make sure that it's stuck real good. And then I would cut, after you paint this up with whatever is left over of that egg wash, paint the top of that with egg wash, and then make some slits in it. I would say 6 slits would be enough. And then you're going to bake this at 350 degrees. Now, if you got a glass baking pie pan, look up underneath when you're done baking it after an hour, and if it looks like it's cooked, then that would be fine. And if not, you want to bake it another 15, 20 minutes, So an hour would be the minimum I'm thinking on this, because it's going to be a nice, thick, heavy dish. So, and then when it's all done, let it set about 5 to 10 minutes, kind of reconstitute. And then when you cut it, it shouldn't run around too bad. It should have a little bit of consistency to it. And if you think it was too thin when you started, you could thicken it up with a little bit of cornstarch melted in water, and that would hold it together a little bit. But runny is okay. A little bit of runny is just fine and dandy for this dish. You don't want it too thick.
It sounds wonderful. I remember it. You mentioned pepper. Let's put all the pepper that we can on that dish. And by the way, Dave, you did a great job on that Trinity dinner.
Oh, geez. Well, thanks. It was fun. It was real fun.
It was a great event, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I hope you made a bunch of money for your needs there for the school.
And we're joking because we haven't had the event yet, but we can talk about it next week. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, the caterer for our event and a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this, and then I don't know what I would do. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. Oh, by the way, make plans for a Wednesday night, March 22nd, for our Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. And I will talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.